After 7 long years, Fire Force is officially finished. It's all done, it's all good, and I would be lying if I didn't say I had some mixed feelings about it. Because watching this series from top to bottom has been one hell of a roller coaster. I wasn't even able to buy alcohol when this series first showed up. And now, I'm almost 30. I feel old. So yeah, there is a lot for me to take in when I talk about Fire Force and my feelings when it comes to it. Fire Force first came out all the way back in 2019. The same year that Promised Neverland, One Punch Man, Demon Slayer, and Tanya the Terrible all came out on. And looking back on it, man, that was a hell of a year for anime. Truly a very good year for anime. Though it's really a shame looking back at all the anime back then and you know what would happen to some of those IPs. Fire Force was made by the same person who made Soul Eater, so it was already getting a massive amount of attention, and us Soul Eater fans were ready to eat anything that man was cooking. And season 1 did not disappoint. That season came out the gate with everything. Great animation, great songs, great music, great character designs, everything from in between. It was genuinely peak. There were so many characters to fall in love with. There were so many things about the world to fall in love with. The music of the show was great, and the opening is still in the top 10 of some of the greatest openings. You cannot deny me that, and I will stand on business when it comes to it. Looking back on it, I can confidently say that Fire Force Season 1 is probably one of the best Season 1s of modern anime history. The debut with that was just like any other, and so many people fell in love with Fire Force after that. Now, Season 2, while I don't think hit as hard as Season 1, it was still a very, very good season. We got a lot more world building, a lot more exploration of the lore, and more characters for us to fall in love with. It was the opening season where I actually started
the plot thickens.
characters. Don't worry, I potentially will be making a video on her, because I have thoughts. And not bad thoughts, by the way. If anyone cares for my stance on that, I think Fire Force gets too much hate when it comes to the too much fan service type of conversation. Yes, there are times where the fan service of Fire Force could 100% abruptly ruin the story. There are moments where I do not like the implementation of its fan service. But if you're gonna hate things like Fire Force for its fan service, and to be fair, when you look at the grand scheme of things, it's not even that much, we gotta start hating on like everybody else. We gotta start hating on One Piece for the way it draws their bodies. We gotta hate on Naruto for the way it does the sexy no jutsu. And we gotta start hating on Bleach, as much as I hate to admit it, for all the shit that it does with its characters. We really wouldn't hear from it for a very long time. But to see Fire Force still strongly in the zeitgeist of the anime community is impressive. It shows you how strong Fire Force was as a series. The fact that it could go 5 years without any real news coming out about it and people were still clamoring about it. Not as much as you would expect, but the fact that it was even in existence with the way that we consume anime now and how fast-paced it is massively impressive. So when Season 3 was finally announced, you can bet your sweet bippy that all of us were majorly excited to finally get the peak back. Well, we didn't necessarily get peak back, unfortunately, because Season 3 is probably the point where I really started disliking the show. Now, before even anything came out, there was already the announcement that they were going to try to cram the rest of the chapters into this final season, which people were very worried about, but it was Studio David, and I did have confidence that maybe they'll be able to work around it. And the answer as to if they did, it's kind of a hit or miss, I think, because most of my feelings when it comes to Fire Force and the mixing of it comes mostly from Season 3. For a lot of what Season 3 has to offer, it has some of the worst pacing and lack of content that I've ever seen Fire Force actually put out. And I assume this is due to the fact that they're cramming so many things into one season. Even with technically 24 episodes for the entirety of Season 3, there was still so much I felt like we missed out on, and a lot of things that just felt really out of place. The way that they treated Season 3 is not the same way that they treated Season 1 or 2. Both Season 1 and Season 2 felt like they had a lot more time, love, and appreciation to the actual product that they were adapting into it. While Season 3, while there was still some inkling of that love from the animation to the characters to the way that they would adaptate manga pages to the certain anime scenes, there was still a lot of content that just felt rushed and just completely forgotten. The one I always think about the most is when the introduction of Arthur and his family comes along. That one felt so out of the blue to me that I genuinely wondered, why the hell is this even in here in the first place? And it's not like there wasn't already context for that. We knew that his parents left him alone. We know that they're somewhere out there. It's just the way they were shoved in there for only 1 or 2 episodes just felt awful. For something that significant, for Arthur to finally find his parents just in the ether somewhere, just wandering around with kids, acknowledging that, hey, maybe the parents are really shitty, they just left Arthur behind, it's awful that we didn't get to explore it, or at least get something more fleshed out than just what we got. Now, true, it is more akin for Arthur's character to be as naive as he could be, so the conclusion was there, but just everything that we got in between that just felt wrong. And that's my main gripe, not with just that part or many other parts of Fire Force, just the entirety of Season 3. And that's where the mixed feeling really stems from. For both separate parts, for Fire Force Season 3 Part 1 and Fire Force Season 3 Part 2, there is a lot of things in the middle that just feel rushed and they feel just not great. But the endings for both of those parts are so hype. The final episode of Part 1 has that whole black and white scene where both Ikki and Shinra go back in time, and Shinra's just freaking out as he sees what everything used to be like before the first cataclysm. And then obviously we get the ending for Season 3 Part 2, which is the finale of the series, seeing the actual Soul World come to be, seeing references to Excalibur and other characters from the show, seeing Death Make Kid, seeing all these wonderful references and actual homages and direct tie-ins to Soul Eater that made me feel so happy to watch it. It felt good to see this show that I fell in love with all those years ago get this wacky, cool end to what would lead into Soul Eater. But at the same time, it's really hard to appreciate that when you're knowing that so much before that didn't help you enjoy that product, and that sometimes almost make you dislike it. As dumb and cringy as this might sound, there is a reason why back in high school, your math teacher taught you to show your work. Just because you got the right answer doesn't necessarily mean that the work that you had before makes sense. There were times where things were just put in Fire Force because it felt like a hey, why not moment, or we need it for the plot. There were times where there were interesting things that only lasted half an episode that didn't get fully expanded on. There are things that just got completely cut out. There are things that just genuinely made no sense to the actual plot, only for it to just help it keep moving on. Again, I like the endings for both parts, and there are genuinely still interesting things of Fire Force that I love. And if I'm going to be frank, a lot of the really good animation did help me go on. But I can't deny the fact that there are parts of Fire Force that frustrate me to watch, knowing that, hey, maybe if we had an extra season or two to really flesh things out, that ending could be good. Good is the wrong word. I should say better than it is, because I do like the ending. The ending is the right answer. The way that they adapted that is phenomenal. But I wonder if I would have liked it more if everything before that made me enjoy the product more. Maybe if everything made more sense, if everything was actually inserted, if things were fleshed out more, if the characters got to fully develop as they were, maybe I could actually be more hyped for the ending as much as I already was. And I'm still hyped for the ending. I want to reiterate that because I feel like a lot of people will look at what I'm saying and think that I'm just bashing Fire Force and calling it a bad product. In no way do I actually think it's bad. Do I think the adaptation could be better? Absolutely. That's the whole point of this. Fire Force to me is not a bad product, but I do have to question whether or not I would like it more if it actually did the right things for the adaptation. And again, for many people, the right thing might be a lot more subjective, but when it comes to doing adaptations, I feel like just being as faithful as possible is the right answer. Now, of course, there are exceptions to that rule. There are certain things from manga to anime that doesn't translate well, and sometimes there are appropriate censorship things that need to be happening when it comes to gore and sexual activities and such. But for the most part, I do believe that a faithful adaptation from manga to anime should be attempted within limitations. And for the most part, I do think the things that Fire Force does adaptate do it well. The highs are really high. It's just the lows also feel really low. So my whole moral conundrum when it comes to this is, do I just be happy that I got the ending that is good, or do I criticize it more for not doing everything properly beforehand? And I even hesitated wanting to write this script out and actually record this video, mainly because overall I didn't want to bash Fire Force for that reason. But because of doing that, I also feel like I got my answer. Yes, I could talk about all the things for Fire Force, how it didn't add everything, how it rushed through all of those last 25 chapters for the final third season, how it really just missed some of the mark when it came to its characters, its lore, and the actual world building for the whole entire series. Sure, I could go ahead and harp on that, and you should. It should be criticized because those things are not good. Again, you should try to be as faithful to adaptation as best as you can, especially when it comes to Okubo's work. Soul Eater was already pretty good until the end and certain other stuff. I only recently found out a couple of years ago that the Soul Eater ending for manga and anime was different, which shocked me. And knowing that Okubo still didn't get a truly faithful adaptation here, even though Fire Force overall I think was still pretty good, it sucks. But I think in an era which I don't think many shonens have gotten very good endings at all, the fact that I can sit here and tell you that Fire Force at the very least ends in a way that most fans would be and have been satisfied with, I think speaks volume. When it comes to performances, no matter what medium, whether it be a concert, a stage play, an opera, whatever it may be, one of the important things that they do teach you is to always leave them on a high note. You always want to leave your audience in a positive manner, no matter how you do it. I do think Fire Force needs to be criticized for the things that it didn't do well, and all the things in Season 3 that it missed. But the fact that I could walk away from Fire Force and be happy with the ending is very good in itself. The fact that I could look at you, viewer, another anime fan I'm assuming, and tell you that, hey, Fire Force ends in a good way. You will be happy with the Fire Force ending. That's really good. I can't say that about Jujutsu Kaisen. I can't really say that about My Hero Academia, depending on who you are. I definitely can't say that about Chainsaw Man, and that's a whole discussion on itself, but I can at least say that when it comes to Fire Force. Sure, did I not get everything I wanted out of it? Yes, but I did have fun with the majority of it, and there were some bumpy roads in the third, but we eventually got there, right? We eventually got to the answers that we wanted and the satisfying ending that we all got, and I'm happy about that. And I know some people might call it somewhat of a cop-out to look at Fire Force, to say, oh, well, that's bad, right? Sure, you could be happy about it, but yeah, it could have been good, right? It could have been what have been. Yeah, but it also could have been worse. It could have been dog shit. It could have been an abysmal downfall. We could have gotten a different ending from the actual manga, but we didn't. We got the good ending that the manga readers enjoyed, and now the anime fans can also enjoy it with them. And I'm happy about that. Was Fire Force the greatest ride in the entire world? After waiting 5 years and getting the majority of Season 3, not really. But the fact that there are still so many aspects of Fire Force that I could look back on and be happy and know that I enjoyed my time, for the most part with it, I think puts it in a good light in my book. Say what you want, call me a shill, say that I'm huffing the biggest copium in the entire world, but I truly still do love Fire Force, and I always going to love Fire Force.
I'm like so gay.